You're watching the Mortgage Busters show, and this show is all about paying your loan down to zero so you can own your property. Also, it's also about preparing for retirement to make sure that can you survive in retirement and enjoy life after work. Adrian.
Howdy.
How are you?
Good, good.
My name is Greg, and of course this
I'm
is
Adrian.
Adrian. What are we talking about today?
A few things.
And?
A lot of emails, a lot of phone calls going
People
on.
are writing into the show,
Yes. And we've been busy for 12 months now, probably. We've been working on our little special Mortgage Busters system.
Special system, of course. and go on, keep going.
And it's unique. It's taken, look, it's not brand new, but it's for mums and dads finally, because usually.
So it's going to help people with retirement?
Yeah, and get rid of their mortgage first, and then speed up, accelerate.
I like that word, accelerate.
Accelerate their investment, their mortgage, get rid of it faster.
Absolutely, and that's what this show is all about. It's probably a good time to introduce Stephen. Stephen, welcome to the show. Stephen McClutchie from the Loans Australia. Fantastic, great. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Greg. Thanks, Adrian. Good to be here.
Welcome.
Great. So what are you talking about with us this evening?
We're going to talk about a couple of things. The first thing, one of my favourite topics is busting your mortgage. We talk about some basic concepts about what we do about how to really get a hold of that mortgage and pay it off quickly.
Which is what we want to hear.
Well, I know people do, and look, I've been doing this for 19 years, and certainly that's the number one thing in our clients' mind is how to get rid of the mortgage. You've got kids to put through school, you've got houses to buy, you've got a retirement to build for. Problem is, though, what we're seeing at the moment is people are ending up at retirement with a mortgage.
Yeah.
So these people don't know how to bust their mortgage. The problem is no one's teaching them how to do it. So that's why...
So can you help us with that?
Certainly can. Certainly can. So we'll talk about it now. I might give you a couple of concepts. That's okay?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Fire away.
So let's have a look at it.
Steve, you have to know, we love the whiteboard.
I'm glad you say it. It's good visual, isn't it? You can really see what's going on.
Yep.
So let's have a look at this mortgage reduction basics. So what we're going to have a look at here is a normal 30-year mortgage. So if you walk into your bank, this is what a bank officer is going to give you at the moment. It's going to take you 30 years to pay it off.
30 years is a lifetime.
It's actually not. When we have a look at it now, the statistics are telling us it's not 30 years. Most people are having a mortgage for 40 or 45 years.
Wow.
Because what happens, they get a loan, 2 years later, they want to get a boat. They want to buy something else. And every time they get a new mortgage, they're adding the length of the term. So it goes out and out and out. And what we've seen is that they're getting retirement and still got a mortgage, which is not what we want to do. So we start up here, an average mortgage of $350,000. They pay down over 30 years. Now the problem is, the banks are smart. We know that. The banks make billions of dollars of profit every year, and they do it for this reason. The first 7 years of the loan is basically all interest. So your loan goes from 350 down to about 320,000 in 7 years. So just this little bit here you're paying off. It's all interest, which is not the way to do it, is it, boys?
If they keep refinancing, that's why it never finishes.
That's right, it goes on and on and on.
It starts again.
The banks call this forward loading. That means they're getting all their profit up front.
Forward loading.
Forward loading.
Forward loading.
I haven't heard that one before.
No, neither have I. Yeah.
There we go. So what we need to do is we've got to change all this. Because what happens, if we come down here at about the 20th year, you've only paid about 50% of your principal off. 50% in 20 years.
Yeah.
So where you're paying it off is just this last little bit here. But who actually has the mortgage that long? It's going out and out and you're refinancing it all the time.
Yeah.
So what we need to do as part of a mortgage busting concept is in the first 7 years, that's where you need to bust it. And that's what we're going to talk about today, is how we can get this first 7 years accelerated. So we're going to use some great ideas, some financial engineering to get our customers paying this down quicker.
Man, I love that terminology, financial engineering. I love it.
Yeah,
That's what it's all about.
Yeah,
we have to use these sort of concepts that you'll see today to make the whole emphasis of paying this off in your favour, the customer's favour, instead of the bank's. That's what we need to do. We need to change it around so you're not paying all these hundreds of thousands of dollars in interest. The problem is the way this principal interest mortgage is designed, it's P&I, principal interest.
So principal and interest, yeah.
Principal interest, that's what normal people do. That's called compound interest. So what the banks are doing, they're making compound interest on you. And what we need to do is change it around so that you're paying what we call simple interest. Simple interest. And if we can do that, you can take your mortgage from 30 years down to about 15 years or even less, which we're going to talk about in a moment, how we can get that even below 15 years.
It's fantastic. It's halving the time.
Halving the time.
Yeah.
And that's going to save you over $300,000 in interest. Do you think that's worth doing?
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Absolutely.
Well, that's what we're going to talk about today.
So the average is 30 years if you didn't refinance.
That's right.
And it just keeps on going and going and going.
Yes, it does.
You mentioned something about 40 years, sometimes 45 years.
That's what we're saying, yes.
Yeah, right.
That's what the Australian Bureau of Statistics are telling us, that people are having their mortgages longer and longer now. I know when my parents first got their mortgage, it was 10 years. Then it went to 20 years.
Yeah.
Then it went to 30. Now we've got 3 lenders out there with 40-year loan terms to start with. Because the cost of houses are getting so expensive and wages aren't keeping up, it's getting worse and worse. So what we've seen the last 20 years of doing finance is that it's critical to show people how they can turn it around and make the mortgage in their favour instead of the banks. So we've got to turn around from the banks making compound interest on your money to you making compound interest on their money. And that's one of the fantastic strategies that we have. And we're going to talk today about what we call a debt weapon. What a debt weapon is something you can use in your favour to turn this whole mortgage reduction around. So it's now in your favour instead of their favour.
Man, I love that terminology.
This can accelerate, my famous word.
It's going to turbocharge their results.
Wow,
because
even worse.
If you keep to the 30-year structure that most banks want you to do, when you walk into the bank, they'll tell you, principal interest loan. That's what you've got to have. The reason they do that, they've been told to tell you that. They've been told to sell you that because they're going to make all the money. So you don't want to do that.
So they're allowed to do that. They're allowed to suck all their profits up front. They're allowed to do it.
I think it should be illegal, really, but it is. They're forward loading then all their profit up.
Because if it's over 30 years, why wouldn't you put it over 30 years? Do you know what I mean?
Well, yeah, that's right. But the banks they're not here. They're not a benevolent society. They're here to make money, and this is the way it's always been done.
Yeah,
but unfortunately, they don't explain that. So they don't explain how you can pay your mortgage off quickly.
Yeah.
When was the last time you walked into a bank and they said, Adrian, Greg, you're on the wrong loan structure. Let's go to this one. It's going to save you $150,000. Has that ever happened?
No, not likely.
No,
I don't think so.
Never.
And look, you're not taught this stuff in school. And so what we do is with our clients is show them how this works so they understand it. Then we show them what we call some debt weapons. And we're going to talk about one of them today, which is called property development, of how they can use that structure to really accelerate paying their home off. Because the whole idea, most people want to pay their home off, which is fine. But then you've got to somehow build a nest egg and live at the same time.
Grab another seat, Steve. I'll just get another quick question before you go to the break. What's the one simple thing that the clients can do to eradicate the mortgage?
The first thing they've got to do
really simple.
is change their structure from principal interest to interest only. But
interest only?
Yes, that's simple interest. And what they do, they continue to maintain a P&I repayment as if it was P&I, but they make the minimum payment interest only. That's step one. Step one.
That's really good. Wow. Just look.
Say that again.
Yeah, say it again. Repeat it. Yeah, just before we go to the break.
Okay.
Yeah.
Step one, change your principal and interest home loan to interest only.
Right.
So what we're doing, we're changing from a compound interest in favour of the bank to a simple interest in favour of you. So then that's step one. Step two, have we got time for step two now?
No.
After the break.
10 seconds.
Okay. Step two is we've got to, put a thing called an offset account.
Of course.
Or a line of credit. That's step two.
Fantastic. Steve, we have to go to a break. You're watching the Mortgage Busters show. We'll be back soon. You're watching the Mortgage Busters show. Before the break, we were talking about debt weapons. Tell me more about that, Steve.
We do. Thank you. The debt weapon is a phenomenal concept we've come up a few years ago now. What it's about turbocharging the results of our clients. It's trying to knock this mortgage down quickly, as we've just explained last session, that really it's the first 7 years which are critical.
Yeah.
If you can't pay your mortgage down the first 7 years, you're so far behind the 8 ball and you may as well nearly give the game away. You've got to get in quickly, pay it off quickly, and the way we do that is a concept called debt weapon. The one we're going to talk about today is probably the one which is number one on the hit parade of debt weapons. It's called property development. Now, for some people, it's a bit scary, the concept of property development. It's been around a long time, obviously. We see cranes up all over the cities. There's lots of activity. Every second street's got townhouses going up. But it's all about how we can utilise this concept to really pay off your mortgage. And it's, people ask me sometimes, what's the difference between property investment and property development?
Yeah.
That seems to be a common sort of theme. Look, and with that, with common property investment, we know it's more of a longer term strategy. So you're buying an investment property, whether it's off the plan or whether it's established property, and it's more for a long term sort of gain. And most people, when they're buying, it's generally negatively geared. We're just lucky we're in a low interest rate environment, so you can sort of neutral pretty much at the moment. But you're not actually getting cash out to pay down your mortgage initially. Whereas property investment is different. So when we're doing development, it's more as a business and it's a profit. So generally, instead of waiting 10, 20 years for a real gain on our property with a property investment, with development, we're really minimising that down to about 2 years. So you can take an investment which normally will get you money in 10, 15 years for investment property and truncate that to 2 years. So in 2 years, you get your money out and you can pay a huge sum of money off your house.
That's
if
massive.
Not completely pay it off.
Yeah.
Is that something you think would
No.
No.
Well, look, is it what's the risk?
Look, in everything people do, there's risks. And look, I've seen over the last 20 years of doing finance, some people have tried to do all this themselves. They haven't had the experts to help them along the way. And certainly there are risks if you don't know what you're doing. There's lots of things you've got to do right to do property development. You've got to find the right site for a start. But a lot of people, the right site is actually where they live. So they don't realise that. They don't realise that they could actually, their house, they could be on a big block of land in a suburban place. They could be getting, to maybe towards retirement age, or they don't know how they're going and they've got to build a nest egg. And all of a sudden they're sitting on, 1,000 square metres of land that they could put up 3 or 4 townhouses. And look, if they're lucky enough to be zoned in an area where the government's, trying to get people encouraging, in high density, they can maybe put up some units. And but they don't know about this. And that's where the Mortgage Busters concepts come in, and Adrian's been working on it. How can we help these people who are getting towards retirement, haven't got much super, still got a debt on their home, but have got some equity, and luckily the market's been going up, as we know. So how can we help them? And so what we've done to try and take some of these risks of property investment away, we've put in a strategy to minimise that. So we've brought on people like myself who are expert in finance, got other people who are what we call quantity surveyors. You need to have valuers, you need to have people who find sites. So all these people in the chain have come on board to make it a reality. So to make it from a concept which only the bigwigs can get access to mum and dads can now get access to this sort of thing. And it might be as simple as doing a backyard subdivision. So subdividing off the back of your house, putting on a unit, maybe selling that unit to pay off your home or get some equity or some cash, or maybe renting it out initially. So that's the starting blocks it could be. For other people, it could be knocking down their house, putting up 3 townhouses. As I said before, it could be a couple of neighbours getting together, which is a very good concept.
And the demand is high for this type of product, isn't it?
Oh, it's huge.
Yeah, of course.
Demand is out there. People are buying. There's record prices, say in Melbourne at the moment. We're seeing it every week. Sydney, they're breaking records. And at the end of the day, the good thing about Australia is we've got population growth.
Yeah. And we can do all this. We can do all this.
We can do all this.
All of it. They don't have to do it.
No. That was a critical thing.
Our new concept.
Well, that's basically what you said. Come up with something which the clients can win, where it's not going to be too taxing, where what I say, can pass the pillow test. The pillow test is basically going to sleep at night and not worrying.
Yeah.
You wouldn't want that, would you? No.
Well, that would be something that would stress a lot of people out. How would you start? Where would you go? And that's why this has been put together, that we can do it all from A to Z, I suppose.
That's right.
Yep.
And that's what it is about. And it's about, I suppose, speaking to us and finding out if you qualify, how it all works, the A to Z of it, and there's 8 simple steps that we go through of how to do it. And at the end of the day, it could be reality. But the good thing is we're not waiting 10, 15 years for something to happen.
Of course.
Look, I consider property investment, it's really speculation, because we don't know what the result's going to be. We don't know how much growth is going to be. Some people are saying that maybe the market's getting pretty heavy, oversupplied. We don't know. But at the end of the day, if you're waiting 10 or 15 years for a potential result, that's speculation. Property investment, when you go into development, you know what's going to happen because you're selling properties off the plan up front, so you're locking in your profits, you know what your costs are, getting fixed price builders quotes. So it's a bit more of a known. And it's a lot shorter. You're talking 18 months to 2 years.
Oh, big difference.
Yeah. And if you're doing a small one, if you're only doing a backyard subdivision or a couple of townhouses, even less than that, you can get the whole project done in about 12 months with careful planning.
What's the sort of the macro view of Australia and on a global setting, or basis? Like what, how's demand looking and what's the future look for 2035, 2050? What's the big picture?
Well, look, as you know, Melbourne's got a 2030 plan, and so they know we're growing. So they're knowing that we have to somehow get more houses for people in Melbourne, if we're talking about, say, Melbourne at the moment. So we know there's a massive demand, and it's growing. Immigration's growing. People are still having babies, which is fantastic. So somehow we've got to house these people.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's our obligation to try and help people do this. And as we know, we're going from the McMansions now down to smaller living areas, which makes it opportune time to get in this. And look, you don't have to start out building a high rise. You can start with 4 townhouses or a little unit block of 8 or something like that. So not something too taxing. And I do a lot of work in America. So what we see in America, we're completely different between America and Australia.
So what is the difference, just in a nutshell?
I don't think you can have it in a nutshell, but look, over there, our banking systems are completely different. Yeah. But in America, they had a really tough time. They had this global financial crisis that really hit them. And when I've been over there probably 15 times the last 5 years, and what we found over there, people who've had great jobs have even lost their home. Because over there, what unfortunately happened over there is that some of the house prices went down. People decided they didn't want to stay in this house, and they got out of the house. Yep. Luckily, we don't have that sort of market. We're much stabler in Australia. And the good thing over here is we have the population growth, we have low interest rates, and we have low unemployment. America's a lot different. But they're on their way up, which is great. And luckily, Australia is the place to be. That's why there's so much money coming into Australia.
Fantastic.
Because there's not all the places around the world doing that well.
We have to take a break.
Fantastic.
You're watching the Mortgage Busters show. We'll be back momentarily. You're watching the Mortgage Busters show, and we're with Stephen McClatchy. Stephen, now the reason you're standing up is because we're going straight to the whiteboard, and we're talking about property development.
We certainly are, Greg. We're going to talk about at the moment is the 8 steps to property development. We talked about it earlier, but we framed it up here so people can get an understanding of what we have to do it successfully. And that's what it's all about. So step 1, financial capacity. So we've got to work out, what are your finances? What's available to you to make this all happen? So we do that first. We look at your finances. Step 2, we've got to find a site. So we've got to develop something. So we've got to add value. And that's what this strategy is all about. If you just buy an investment property, you're not adding value. Someone's done it for you.
Of course.
But or an existing site, like you were saying. Somebody. Yeah.
Exactly right. Yeah. And there's ways of doing that, which we'll talk about. Step 3, feasibility. So look, anyone's got a site, but we've got to make sure it's profitable. So we want to make money out of this. So it's not, we're just guessing and hopefully you'll make a profit in 12 months or 2 years. We do all the numbers up front, so we know what it's all about. Step 4, due diligence. So very important that we actually do some research and understand what we're going to be doing. So we look at the type of land, we look at the zoning. I talked about before, some areas now the government is actually earmarked as high density. So they're saying, okay, you can go up, you can build, we want people here. And that's what we're looking for in a lot of these cases.
Is that like the transit zones and the hubs?
Yes, there's hubs all around Melbourne, and lots of states have got these hubs. Make it work. We're also looking at finance due diligence. So there's lots of ways of funding your investment and your property development. We're going to talk about that in an upcoming episode, I believe. Talking about building. When we get a builder, we don't just go to one builder and get a quote. We get a multitude of quotes. We want to make sure that the builder we're getting is going to do a good job at the right price. It's not just about taking the cheapest price either. Yep. It's the best builder we want. And then the sales price. We're going to get a number of quotes. We want to know what we can sell these properties for, whether they're townhouses, apartments, whatever it is, we need to know up front what we're going to sell it for. It's critical in working out our profit. Step 5 is purchase. We've got to purchase the site. And you can purchase the site in a number of ways. We might talk about in future options. That's a great way of purchasing a property development site and having certain clauses in our contracts, which we do to protect ourselves and our clients every time. Step 6, approvals. When we're doing property development, we actually have to go and get approval to do what we want to do. They won't just let us build whatever we want. We have to get that design. We have architects and draftspeople put together plans and get them approved through council. So we're not trying to do it ourselves. We have professionals doing that. That's what this step-by-step process is all about, getting the right professional to make it happen, to minimise our risk. Step 7, construct. We've got to build the thing. And then step 8, we've got to sell it. And selling's important. We can either start the sales process at the beginning, and you always do. You're always putting your marketing together. You're doing your due diligence so you know what they're going to sell for. And then at the end of the day, we've got to sell them and make our profit. So that's basically the 8 steps to property development.
Okay, so can you give us an example, like break it down a little bit further? Is that, like Got something on the other side of the whiteboard, is that right?
I have. I'm holding it back. I know. Look, we got to make money, don't we?
Well, there's a reason, obviously, why anybody would do this. Firstly, get rid of their mortgage.
Yes.
Get rid of that. Make maybe some profit as well on top of that.
Absolutely. So let's have a look.
Both.
An example of how the numbers work, just simply.
Let's keep it simple.
Keep it simple. We'll try and do that. So we're looking at a quick calculation. We call it a feasibility. This is part of our due diligence. So we're going to buy a site. Let's say the site's worth $750,000. When we buy that, we've got acquisition costs. We've got to pay stamp duty. We've got to pay all these legal costs. We put a figure of $42,000 there as an example. This pre-construction, before you start constructing, as we said, we've got to go and get plans and permits done. We've got to prepare the site, demolish whatever's on there and get it ready to go. We've put, in this case, $38,000. Then we've got to construct what we're going to build, whether they're townhouses or units or apartments, whatever it may be. In this case, $1 million. So we add all these costs up, and it's going to cost us $1.83 million to build, get it all through. Then we've got to sell. So as we said, a part of due diligence is working out up front what we can sell these apartments for or townhouses for. In this case, we're going to net about $2.5 million once the government gets their slice of GST. Obviously, we've got to pay agents. Whoever's going to sell these properties for us, they've got to be paid. And we've also got to pay interest. And this is where a lot of people get a bit freaked out with property investment. It's a huge loan. So most people, how am I ever going to afford that? I can hardly pay my home loan. How am I going to pay a property?
Of course.
So we will talk about how we do that.
Yep.
But in this case, we've got to allow for about $150,000 in this case. So when we add up all these, we're going to net 2.3 million. So take the costs away from what we're going to sell it for, we net 2.3. So simply our profit is the difference between what we sell them for and how much it costs to build. So 2.3 million minus 1.83 gives us a $470,000 profit margin. So we always look in terms of what our return on investment is, and our return is 25.7% based on what it's cost. Now that's a pretty good profit.
That is pretty good. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
That's right. So when I said before, the difference between property investment and property development is that property investment is long term.
Yeah.
Initially, you're probably losing money. That's what negative gearing's all about.
Yeah, yeah.
But property development is about making money now. I call it a debt weapon because we can then go and take this profit and then use it to pay our mortgage off, use it to invest. Well, we might not sell all these. We could hold one back and keep it and grow our wealth. There's lots of ways you can structure it. But the main thing is we've done our due diligence. We've got the right consultants on board. We've worked out what we're buying we can build all up front. So we're not going to go buy something if we haven't done our due diligence to make sure we can actually make it happen. That's what it's all about. No pie in the sky sort of stuff. So we've worked out we can make this money. Now, people are probably thinking out there, how can they get involved? Well, that's what they're generally asking me when I talk to my clients about this sort of concept. They're saying, okay, look, you might not have the capacity to borrow this sort of money, to borrow a couple of $1 million to make this happen, 1.8. Most people don't. So it's about utilising what you have and matching up with people who can help you. We call it joint venture. And that's what it's all about. And what's what Mortgage Busters are bringing to people is about how to utilise the assets and the skills you have with other people to make it happen. So I know we've got a short period of time, so you might not be able to make $470,000 profit on your own, but if you joint ventured with the right people, you can get a big slice of that where you might not have never had that before.
Never had the opportunity.
Never had the opportunity.
Yeah.
So this is a great way to making it happen. Foolproof system, all the steps are there, 8 steps to making it happen, and we're here to help.
Fantastic.
Fabulous.
Please, Steve, sit down. That was fantastic. Really, really good explanation.
Yes.
So, you're watching the show. Adrian, how do people get involved?
Get on to the website, give us a call on the 1300 TMB show. Steve now is our director for this special project.
Fantastic. Director of Special Projects. I love that name. Fantastic. So, Adrian, all people need to do is contact us.
Yeah, just give us a call and we can sit down and have a chat, see what they've got.
Fantastic.
See if it applies.
All right, we need to wind up. Thanks very much, Steve. Thanks, Adrian.
Thank you.
You've been watching the Mortgage Busters show. We'll see you again next week.